Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Science and the Soul with myself, the Lady Jaclyn, and my fabulous co-host, Dear James. Listen, I was having a bit of a giggle because we were dancing to our intro music, so I hope you guys love it. Listen, this is a show where we bridge the gap between the spiritual and the practical, and I'm so excited for today's episode because it is so beautifully aligned. Dear James, are you
Um,
ready to get this partying started?
yes, I know. That's what I was saying. I actually mouthed to her on camera like I love this music, and it just gets you in the mood, and it's uplifting and inspiring. And so yes, and it's a really great episode and topic.
Absolutely. So, do you want to go ahead and just explain the topic? I know it was detachment.
Yes, absolutely. So we have the beauty of episode 9. We discuss acceptance, detachment, discernment, and natural cycles of endings and beginnings. And there's something really cool about this. As you may know, when you're joining us, we were going to do this episode a couple weeks ago. And for, personal things and everything happening, we postponed. And as the universe would have it, right, Jacqueline? It's so on point because of astrological events that are going to mirror up. So we'll talk about that, but it's just really beautiful how the unseen is like, yes, that topic. Wait for it, wait for it. Okay, now deliver it.
Yeah. And it goes hand in hand with the topic of today's show. Because you know what's so beautiful, though, is that it's almost like we always talk about the plan, right?
Mm,
And kind of like the expectation of how we perceive our life should go. And we're briefly talking about just before we went live about this idea of letting go and surrendering to what is inevitably happening for you. And if you joined yesterday's live show, we spoke about this so indeed, almost like queued up today's show, right? And it is that idea of detaching from what you like, detaching, releasing the control. That's kind of like the
mhm.
underline, what I'm noticing is the control. And what's so beautiful is that each week we get inspired to come and have these conversations and have the show, whether it be on the Wednesday or the weekly wisdoms or through the Science and the Soul. And it's so beautifully curated because it is like we're
By the unseen,
living,
yes.
right? We're living the intelligence that, or the wisdoms that, or the conversations that we're sharing, like the themes, we're living it. And then
Right.
we're kind of like adding our own spin on it and sharing our stories about what we're kind of, experiencing through these themes that we're getting inspired to or receiving the signs to actually share or conversate about.
Right, because as we say, we don't talk about them. We just say, okay, what's the show topic? What's it going to be? And then we kind of go our about our lives and everything, and then we'll Jacqueline and I will just message each other and go, is it this? And it'll be a
Mm-hmm.
ping, and we'll get it, and something right off the top of it because you use the detachment as a theme, and it's such a powerful perspective, detachment. However, there's a misnomer about detachment as well. And that is
Mm-hmm.
detachment does not mean give up, don't care, be lazy, just detachment. There's the universe. I love this with the technical stuff and everything. And it goes, okay, poof, and off the line we go. It's like, see, detachment. It doesn't mean give up and the Lady Jacqueline and Dear James walk away and go, okay, see you later. The beauty of detachment is to take a step back, is to literally take your hands off the wheel. It's a beautiful song, Carrie Underwood, Jesus Take the Wheel. It's take your hands off the wheel. Detachment simply means loosen your grip. Because that's, as the Lady Jacqueline said at the top of the hour, it's it's about releasing control. It's about detachment so that you can open yourself up to the unseen, to see what are the next practical, literal steps, bridging the gap, spirituality, practicality. You listen, you detach, so you can listen so as to then make your next literal, practical move.
Absolutely. I kind of want to pose the question. So, why do you think detachment is so hard or so difficult or it's such a struggle? Like when we say, oh, just detach, and that kind of idea of, and I understand this so beautifully because I've experienced it, the idea of when you're really learning to embody detachment, like that letting go the control, right? You kind of go, where is the boundary line between, oh, okay, like, I'm just, if it, I'm not doing this anymore, I don't care, whatever can happen, happens. Or kind of like, okay, hold on, I don't need to control this, is trust. It's like a very fine line, right? Between I don't care and, oh, actually I trust. So why do you think it's so difficult? Like, why do you think we struggle so much with the idea of detaching, of releasing the control?
And the beauty lies in the word, and it's so simple and so powerful because we have an attachment to the outcome. That's why we have a problem detaching, because we're attached to the outcome we want. And so if we're attached to the outcome, there's no space, there's no room. We're in the mode of controlling, manipulating, doing whatever we can, as opposed to realizing, well, if we detach, if we take our hands off, again, something far higher, greater, more expansive, more purposeful will guide you. And so what's required in order to get there? Detachment, releasing our attachment to an outcome. Because again, we may desire something, a relationship, the outcome of a job, or, something like that. Well, we're so narrowed in and focused in on the outcome, the attachment to it. There's no room. There's no oxygen in the room for a whole different perspective, a whole different outcome that delivers us to something far greater.
And I think it's also then looking at what is the reason or the motivation behind the attachment.
Yes.
So it's kind of going, what is motivating your behavior to attach to what you think needs to happen versus what is actually going to happen inevitably. So, and that's the key, like that's where the release and the work, we always talk about the work, right?
The works.
That's the work of actually reframing, of letting go of the story of, or the fear or the trauma or the limiting belief, right? That's keeping you, it's keeping you replaying or reliving that coping mechanism or strategy of control. Because control is ultimately just a coping mechanism when you feel not safe, when you feel like you are vulnerable, when you feel like like you're out of place, you don't feel confident, you want to control.
And we want, right? And humans want things to stay the same, right? We like, we're creatures of habit and repetition and knowing. We need to know. I need to know in order to feel safe and secure and confident. And, and it's so, again, integrated into our topics about natural endings and beginnings, natural cycles. And the reason I bring it up is because, they're saying right now, it's in our witnessing that it's divine and neutral. Everything is divine and neutral. It's only our perceptions, right? Our judgments, our perceptions, our wanting to control, our intentions. Are they pure or are they less than pure? Because when you detach from the outcome and when you stand in a place of neutrality, openness, you're in a state of allowing. You're allowing yourself to participate, bear witness, right, to this unseen. Okay. And that's the point, because natural cycles, natural endings and beginnings. And humans don't like that. No, I love this job, or I love this relationship, or I love this house, or I love this city, and I don't. And your soul source and the unseen and everything is going, and human design. But you're designed to move forward. You're designed to experience these things, or, change and stuff. No.
So it's such a beautiful invitation. Thank you for sharing that with me, because I was getting the insight to go, okay, show people where in their chart they can clearly identify what could potentially be that exact thing that is keeping them leveraging control rather than the surrender or detachment. So I want to share 3 things with you, or maybe there'll be more. But the first one that came up was the head and the ajna. I keep saying anja, I don't know why, but it's ajna centers. So the top 2 triangles at the top of your human design chart, if they're open, which means they're not colored in, they're white, then you are experiencing a shadow, but they're more susceptible to experiencing the shadow of uncertainty, so kind of like the pressure to know, right? And we've spoken about this, and James, you beautifully mentioned that. It's like the certainty. You'll only feel safe when you know the exact outcome, right?
Right.
Or you'll only do the thing when you know, okay, this is the thing that is going to guarantee me that success, right? And with both two centers, the shadow is that need to be certain, the need to know all of the answers, the need for clarity, for clarification in order to feel safe. But the gift is in the knowing that you're never going to know everything, because that's part of the journey, that's part of the experience. That knowing is going to come instantaneously when you actually release that cerebral, I want to say, pattern of trying to think things through all of the time, that overthinking, that worry. You release that and you focus and kind of embody the trust. You're going to receive the insight at the right time. And the next thing that I feel called to share is your sphenic center. So it's the triangle on the left-hand side of your chart. If it is open, you really do have the potential to have the shadow of holding on to things for too long. So it's not knowing when to actually let go of things, right? And there could be a host of different reasons. Even if it's defined, you could potentially also experience the shadows, but when it's open, you're actually absorbing the energy from the environment around you, right? So looking at the shadow of that center, the sphenic center, is holding on to things for too long. So not knowing when is the right time to actually let it go, right? So just by looking at those two, and there's 9 centers, and I could talk about this for days, but just those two alone can give you a beautiful understanding to actually hold on. Am I holding on to this relationship, like you beautifully said, dear James, or am I holding on to this idea of what my career should look like in fear of, and then identifying what the fear is? Or am I being motivated by that uncertainty of wanting to get the pressure of knowing the next steps, or all my next steps, and then I will? Does that make sense?
Yes. And then, what was coming in, which is so brilliant. We have a saying, we use it in the US of like, oh, you exceeded your expiration date, or you exceeded its expiration date. And they all have expiration dates, best before or by. And typically, most people will not consume things too far after that expiration date. If they look and they say, oh, wow, it's a year out of date, or, you've been it. Well, this is the same thing in the sense of attachment and detachment and discernment and so forth. It applies. We just, to our relationships, to our professions, to our jobs and so forth, to our lives. And when you know that something, you can feel it, you just know that it's exceeded its expiration date, you have a choice. Yes, it's hard. It is really hard to leave a relationship or leave something, the familiarity of things. But again, natural endings, natural cycles, natural endings and beginnings. And so the more that we allow and align with that energy of allowing, of saying, okay, I know it's past time. The only thing that holds us in place is the fear of the unknown, of what does it look like on the other side of where I am this moment. However, as it always is, right, Jaclyn? As it always is, as the unseen, as your soul source guides you, it will always deliver you to somewhere new, somewhere fabulous and amazing, somewhere juicy, to use the Lady Jaclyn's beautiful term. It is, because it's true, because it's always, and then there's times where you get on the other side and you literally say to yourself, why did I wait so long?
Oh yeah, that's
why was I right? It's like that thing of, why did you wait so long?
Why did I stay for so long? Yeah, or why didn't I make the move sooner? Like, it's so much better.
Because this is so much better. And that's the point of it. That is so it's a big lesson, it's a big point of today's topic of becoming in alignment and harmony and making peace with natural cycles of endings and beginnings. And how we use that, in how beautifully in the charts, in the human design charts, that it's there, it's identified, it's how you will respond and react to it, and based on your chart. So as you said, if it's open and you have the difficulty, correct? You have the difficulty when the chart.
So you're more susceptible. So I
Right.
like to kind of say, yeah, because so even if you have it defined, doesn't mean you're never going to experience the shadow. I have actually sat with clients and I've personally also experienced the shadow even when you have the definition, but you're more susceptible because you don't actually have your own energy running through there consistently. So it's like an inconsistency. There's space for you to actually then more than when it's not, when it is defined, to experience the shadow of that certain potential. You know what's really great? Just to tag on what you're mentioning in the chart, the ending and new beginning, as well as the start of actually like the human design cycle, all originates at the bottom of the chart, which is the root center, right? And then it ties in with either the emotional solar plexus or then the sacral center. So if you look at that, that's three motor centers, and none of it is like literally the furthest away from the mind. So if you're thinking about that detachment process or becoming, what did you say? Becoming used to or getting in touch with the natural cycles of beginning
In
and
a,
ending.
right, in alignment with it and everything. Yes.
Yes, it is so far away, like the mechanics of it, it's so far away from the mind. It's all about that root center, which is the pressure center, which is the house of stress and adrenaline, right? And then that sacral center, which is that gut inner, like, sacral response, and then it's that emotional solar plexus, that emotional center. So it's incredible actually to see that both endings and new beginnings all stem from the bottom. It's like almost like the base of the chart, right? Your root, your what's grounding you in,
Yeah.
which is so far away from the mind.
Isn't it beautiful? Right, because it's anchoring in, right? It's coming literally from your foundation. And I'm going to share this because I was talking about it yesterday. So humans are creatures of habit. We creature comforts. So we like it. Literally some people never leave, the village, the town, the state that they live in. Like it's a big deal in the US. It's a big deal for somebody to go from one side of the state to the other side of the state, let alone the rest of the country, the world, and everything. So here's this playing out. I grew up in a military family, so we, as a child, every 2 years, you were reassigned. My father was reassigned. So every 2 years, you're just getting to where you know people, you're making friends, you're liking something, and boom, you've been reassigned to a new location. And this happened over and over and over again. And so what was funny about that is at the time, I can look back as a child and go, I really resented it. I didn't like it. And yet, as an adult, for everything that I'm experiencing and doing now, as you just said, the sacral, it was the foundation. It was set up. It was my human design, my soul plan that said, you're going to experience it young in life so that you're accepting and okay with it later in life, because it won't be new to you. It'll be somewhat consistent throughout your journey. And so, being brutally honest, do I like it every time? No, I don't. And yet, I understand it. I appreciate it. I understand it because detachment, discernment, greater picture, greater plan. And so it becomes an opportunity, an asset, a positive, because I make the choice to come to peace with that, to align with that truth. I could be combative and resentful, but where is that going to get me?
You know, it's also like so true, 100%. And that brings me to also the idea of the identification process, right? Like how we identify with ourselves, like who we actually are. We identify where we grew up, where we live, what we live in, what we drive, what work we do, who we associate with. But the truth, we know, like the truth is that we are so much more than that, right? That's just the physical, materialistic, practical plane that we are all, feeling
Creature
and touching
comforts.
with our senses. Yep.
Right.
Because that's part of the human experience. So it's in that journey in of itself to know the truth. And I say the truth because the actual truth, the bigger picture of what we're actually doing here. And in that, in order to get to the next level, is to understand, okay, hold on. Who was it that said, was it Buddha or was it the suffering process is the identification? And there's like 7 different layers of why we suffer, and it's because we identify. Was it Buddha?
I believe it
You
was
know who
Buddha,
said it?
and it's
Yeah,
the
I think it
beauty of
was. Eh?
the definition of suffering is attachment.
Yes, attachment. Yeah. So it's identifying with, and I mean,
Yes.
how many people do you know literally had massive crises or chaos because through COVID, how many lives were uprooted? How many people lost their jobs? How many people had to actually go inward and go, hold on, who am I? Who am
Mm.
I if I don't have this title in my career? Who am I if I don't have the income? Who am I if I need to get my car back, or if I need to downscale and get a different kind of car? Right?
Yes.
So it's looking at that process, and that's also part of the detachment, is kind of catching yourself going, hold on, I'm trying to control, or I'm not liking this because I'm actually identifying with a version of myself. I'm like kind of not in alignment with my actual soul,
Right.
right? Because if you're in alignment with your actual soul, then you're not going to feel the discomfort. You're gonna feel like, oh, it's okay. Like I don't mind
Right.
which car I drive.
Or you'll move through it very quickly, right?
Yes,
You'll
yes,
move through the
yes.
discomfort more quickly because you're aligning and you know the truth. And it's, I just want to do, welcome everybody. Debbie Harris, good morning, beautiful souls, and right back at you. And Maria's here. She has a statement. Brigitte, Cecilia, hello, Cecilia. I'm going to use you as an example here too, because it ties in so beautifully. And Haley joining us. Um, I know Cecilia personally, and as a dear friend, and there's a beauty in the example here, Jaclyn, of they are selling their long-held family home, and you can imagine the identity that goes into that, and the memories and all of this stuff, and yet the beauty of the knowing natural cycles of endings and beginnings, and what's on the other side for us. Where are we going now? What new adventures, what new joys, what new memories and moments will we create? And the beauty is in the allowing, the surrender of it, the releasing of it so as to receive something new, as opposed to exceeding its expiration date, as we talked about in the top of the hour, and knowing that, well, wait a minute, why are we holding on? And this is true of everything and everyone. It's so true. And look at what's happening on the world stage, right? People are cleaving to a way that's, God, from the 1950s and prior. They want to go back in time because they're so attached and afraid of what it looks like when everyone has a place at the table, when the beauty of equality and newness and opportunity it's shining. It's right in their face, and it's coming regardless. We talked about this right before the show. The energy of the new it can't be stopped. Source, nature, it can't be stopped. And so we have a choice. Do you flow with the new, with the natural cycles that are presenting themselves in our individual lives and cosmically, globally? Or are you trying to obstruct them? Are you trying to hold on? And I would not want to be on the holding on to, come on, hold on to the tail of Mother Nature. Good luck. It's like I don't know. I forget the name of the game. We used to whip, and you would all, as kids, lock arms, and then you would start moving, undulating. Well, the kid at the end of the chain of that would go flying.
Yeah, flip.
I mean, poof,
Yeah.
You didn't want to be the one holding on to that chain of energy, because you were going to go flying across. Yeah.
You know what's so beautiful as well, what I'm getting this aha moment is there's also the process of actually going through that. So it's being the kid on the end getting flipped. There's a beautiful, sometimes we've just got to have that experience as well. We've got to
Sure.
like have the rug, feel the rug getting pulled from under us. We've got to have that shift, or that kind of like really big awakening, the aha moment to kind of go, okay, hold on, thanks. Like that was tough, but I know why I needed that, So it's not discrediting the process of learning, because I know this is what people do, and especially if you're anything like me, which has really high expectations and I'm my biggest critic, right? And kind of like putting all these expectations on me. It's like, it's so easy to self-sabotage and then get even more in your own way, because you kind of like, why didn't I see that sooner? Or, oh my gosh, I'm noticing this, but how can I bypass it? You can't bypass it. Like, if it's inevitably designed for you, the universe is going to have a way of it showing up again in a different form, so that you can learn what you need to learn and that you can move on and grow, right? So it's kind of like, again, even detaching from the detachment process. So like detaching from the outcome of going through the process, because I think so many times as well, it's like, you know, when you go through this process of awakening, or if you're on the path of being spiritual, or if you're kind of going, oh, I want to be a high conscious being, it's so easy to kind of get lost again in the, oh, hold on, I didn't do it correctly, or, oh, there's a correct way of doing it. No, there is the way of doing it, and that's your way. And you'll get there anyway.
Or right? You become associated with the identity of being higher conscious being. Another shadow element. Because again, I know for the Lady Jaclyn and I and all of you who join us and everything, it's not us. It comes through. And we sit in receptivity. We're in reciprocity with all of you. And so the beauty is to not become identified with something. You are not the experience. You are not the place, the person, the thing. We are the soul, the vessel that experience comes through us. And so the more we open to that, the more we detach from clinging to these things and then just let it all come through, it flows. And that's paramount. You know, Maria had when do you know it's the shadow? You know it's the shadow when the fear of, when you know, right, Jaclyn? You know you've exceeded the expiration date on something. You know. And yet there's a fear or a mental fear, emotion, feeling of, I know I'm supposed to let go, and I know, but I don't want to. That's when you know it's the shadow. Because what you know to do, it's a feeling, a knowing is present. You know to move forward, you know to relocate, to leave a relationship, to change jobs, or whatever it might be. You know the time is changing. You know it's written all over the wall. You can see it, and yet you're cleaving out of fear to something that you already have. That's shadow.
So it's also, it doesn't feel good, right? When you're living in shadow, you don't feel like in alignment. You don't feel yourself. I want to take it back to quickly the practical sense, because this is what we do, right? And with human design, because that's the tool that I use. So when you're looking at human design, it can actually, when you're experiencing the shadow, you're out of alignment with yourself. So now when you look at your chart, you will actually see, it will say not self on your chart. Based on your type, that is a not self frequency. That's almost like your red flag or your guiding light. It doesn't mean you're not going to experience any other emotion, but that's kind of like the key based on your type and your mechanics. So for me, as being a projector, it's bitterness. So I know when I'm feeling bitter, I'm out of alignment and I'm living in my shadow. I know it. I'm like,
never.
Okay, there it is.
Never. The Lady Jaclyn and bitter, those words don't go together.
Right? But it's true. Like, it happens.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. No, seriously, like I feel it, and it's so interesting because it's different levels of bitterness. So it's not like that really sour. Like I've experienced that as well in my life, but it's like I feel it. I feel that bitterness of, oh, that person's not recognizing me, or oh, I'm not getting the opportunity to do X, or oh, they did, whatever it is, because I know the opposite. Now, what's beautiful with human design, it gives you the opposite. It gives you that in alignment frequency. And for me, it's success. So it's as soon as I feel I feel success, and whatever success is defined for me, right? Not what commercial success looks like. It's like what I truly understand in my description of success. I know, okay, cool. I'm not in my shadow. I'm actually in alignment. I'm in harmony with my soul and my purpose and the journey that I'm designed to live in this world. Right? So that's so beautiful, is you can look at your human design chart and you can see what is my signpost to know exactly when I'm out of alignment, and that means that I'm potentially living more of that shadow side. And therefore you can go, okay, what is the frequency that I'm actually striving for consistently? And then you can work to actually embody that more often than not.
And there's something that they were bringing in too, because these are big: burden versus joy. When we hold on too long, when we're attached to an outcome, we're exceeding the expiration, we're not going with a natural flow. Look at how the attachment creates massive burden, weight. It's like an albatross around your being, versus the childlike joy, the joy of being in the moment and saying, okay, well, what's the next adventure? And yes, packing, moving, using that analogy, and, starting over and all of that stuff. It comes, yes, it comes, but it can be joyful and joy filled, because we go about it and say, okay, well, what's new? What is the new in this? And that becomes joy. And so be mindful of, does it feel like a burden? Is it a weight? Is it just dragging you down and pulling you back and keeping you from going somewhere that you know you want to go? Or is it joyful, joy-filled? Yes, there's energy and responsibility and stuff that goes with it, but it can be joy. And that's the awe and wonder. That's the exciting part of what's on the other side. And as we talk about, right, Jaclyn, and in hindsight, you can go, oh, wow, this is so much better. Or, wow, why did I wait so long? And it teaches you, when you have one of those moments, right? It teaches us, it does me, when I feel it again, if I'm experiencing that again, I really have that talk with myself to go, well, the last time it was really pretty amazing. You want to let go quicker? And as you keep doing it, and we talked about this yesterday, exercising your soul, the more you do it, the more you exercise that soul, the more, you have more experience, more history to say, every single time I've done this, it turned out really amazing. So let go. It's just, we're human. There's an emotional aspect and weight to it, and we have to be the ones willing to unburden, unlayer, let go.
Absolutely. So when we started the show, you spoke about the interesting astrological aspects, and I know we've got not a new moon, a full moon coming up, and
new
it's
moon.
So interesting. Is it new moon?
New moon. Yep.
Oh, so it's 2 new moons.
Yes, 2 new moons in the month.
I thought it was 2 full moons this month, so it's 2 new moons.
Yes.
Man.
And it's
Isn't
interesting.
There eclipse as well or something?
Exactly. So I'm going to quote 2 different sources. One is it's Pam Youngin's North Point Journal. She's an astrologer. She does amazing weekly write-ups for the week. And literally we have our first eclipse. It's a partial solar eclipse with the new moon on Saturday, April 30th in Taurus. And so on point with what we had been talking about was the fact that she says, in the days leading up to the eclipse, we are, of course, in the waning days of the current lunar cycle. This last week of the lunar month represents a time for completion and for letting go of attachment to what has been. So on point. So that we are ready for new directions to unfold. It is a time to trust and have faith, knowing that endings always precede new beginnings. I was just like, mic drop, thank you.
Yeah.
She's, and then I also follow, just want to get them in here as well, the Power Path, and they're a shaman group out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. And they were talking about this same thing. And it's about coming into balance, and the fact that it always brings about this opportunity for the beauty and the fulfillment of endings and beginnings. And it's so powerful how the Lady Jaclyn and I were going to do this show a couple weeks ago. And it was delayed, and yet delayed meaning delivered right on time, because it's coinciding with the cosmic astrological energies. And the new moon, they just said, this new moon eclipse begins a cycle of review, reevaluation, and action towards necessary endings, beginnings, and change. It's a potent time to look at your relationship to your comfort, security, resources, support, values, and self-esteem. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
I don't know about you, but
Okay.
I gotta go. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Mic drop, we're out. Done. Thank you, guys. Okay, so let's put it in practical terms, because now we know what's happening, right? So let's answer the question of how we can equip, or like how can we best prepare ourselves. I mean, here's a line one speaking in me. How can we best prepare ourselves for this, whatever it is, ending, new beginning? Maybe you're still going through an ending, and you're in that process, or you've just gone through the ending and you're now embracing the new beginning, because there's discomfort, uncertainty in both the ending and the new beginning. You know, no matter how you look at it, they both experience, you experience certain similarities in the experience in your emotions, right? Just depending on how, like, you know, what's actually happening. So how do you best prepare for this, dear James?
So, and I'm going to tie this in with Jaclyn, with Brigitte's comment, because it's so powerful and so on point. And she makes the point of saying, most people I know in my life are not spiritual and are living a rather good life being unaware. And it resonates because we've all been there. There's a swath of, and when I use this term unconsciousness, it's not in a derogatory manner. It's simply like she's stating, they're not spiritual, meaning they're not focused on their awakening, their connection to source. They're the hamster in the wheel. The hamster in the wheel doesn't know any better. It's not a negative for them.
No, you don't know what you don't know, right?
You don't know what you don't know.
Ignorance, that's the whole statement of ignorance is bliss, kind of.
Absolutely, because again, it's not a derogatory statement, it's a truism.
It's just truth.
Ignorance is bliss. And so people would say then, because she goes on to say, I am having a hard time at the moment making sense of this. It has to make sense in my head. So when you embark on exercising your soul, leading with your soul, this is where you become awakened to more. There's more to this. There's something more and greater. Your soul, and what does that require? It does require you to detach from what you know, because they're showing you a new way. The new way, the old way is I'm doing it, I created it, I manifested it, I. And it's typically, and if something happens to me, it's happening to me. And so in that, and I don't, again, mean this derogatorily, in that state of ignorance, you think you're the one doing everything. There is no unseen. And when something occurs and it happens to you, it's someone else's fault. It's all external, yada, yada, yada. Well, when we flip the script and we lead with our soul, we come into an awareness, right, Jaclyn, of, oh, hold on a second. It's coming through me. It's happening for me. And because our experience has been something else, to answer Brigitte's direct question and tie it in, that requires more of us. We no longer get to sit on the surface and take no responsibility and have no, our attachment to the outcome, we force it. It's masculine, patriarchal, raw force. In the receptive, in the feminine, we nurture, we take responsibility, we care for, we're the custodians of. It is a far richer journey, right? It is profoundly richer. However, the responsibility is that we take responsibility. We think about our words, our actions, how we're affecting, what we're doing. And so, yes, we can sit, those doing the journey and walking the walk and walking the talk. We look and we're like, isn't that, they're so and going about whatever. And yet they don't know. It's an illusion.
So, what's interesting, and what I'm like, the perspective that I'm gonna just hop on with the statement is, like there's a part of me that's like that shocking approach that's gonna come out, which is so interesting. It's like, but why does it matter? Like the secret, the juice, the magic in that phrase, in that sentence, is looking at why are you having such a hard time with the way other people are living their life. Now, it doesn't mean about judgment. It doesn't mean there's lack of compassion. It means it's like it's causing you, and this is the comparison thing. It's almost like it's like this idea, this perspective, but I'm doing it the way we're supposed to be doing it. They're unaware, they're unconscious, and therefore they're living a seemingly good life, and I'm suffering. Like, why am I suffering? Why is this happening to me, right? It's that idea again. You can break it down bit by bit, layer by layer. There's so many levels, there's so many reasons, there's so many perspectives. But for me, it's like kind of going, instead of trying to figure it out, like making sense of why is this happening, it's the identification of why do you feel like you need to make sense of it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like looking at your own journey,
right? Well,
and seeing.
Sorry, Jaclyn. There's this piece of from a Master Jesus standpoint, it's associated with the teachings of Master Jesus, and it says, and it's obviously more prevalent from a biblical standpoint, but it's 2 words: be ready. And it's always saying, so to Brigitte's point and what she's experiencing right now, the reason why is to quote unquote be ready, to not be unconscious, but to be to be in alignment with soul source, with the way, the path, and thereby you, Brigitte, because you're here, because you're doing the works and so forth, it means you're at the head of the class. You're at the tip, not the tail cone. Those that are just completely unaware are at the tail cone. They're completely unaware. But once you kind of awaken, and I always say, Jaclyn, once the bell's rung, you can't unring the bell. You can't go back to being quote unquote unconscious. It's impossible, because
once you're awake,
you're awakened. Yeah, once you're awake, you're awake. And Brigitte, I hear you. I mean, this is, you're not walking that experience and that feeling alone. It happens to everyone, because you kind of look and go, well, I know who I was before, and it was all just like them, and it was seemingly fine and wonderful, and all of a sudden now I'm awake. The bell rang. And now it's hard, and it's not, and you're like, and no matter how hard you try, you can't go back to being unconscious. You can't.
So in the process then of being ready, practically it looks like what? So when you're going through, I know when I'm going through some kind of an ending, I tend to fight against it. And I don't know why. Right. But it's because in my human design, I have the gate 42, which is I'm a master at understanding death, rebirth, the celebration of the new cycle and the endings. Right? I'm really good at ending things. It's really ironic, actually, because I've also too experienced, and this is why I said with the shadow, even with the defined, I have a defined feeling center. That's where my strong intuition comes from. The difficulty in releasing things a little bit, like I've been holding on to things a lot longer than I should have. But in saying that, it's like in the preparation of the ending of something, it's kind of going, how you detach and allow is the celebration of the wisdom that you received from the journey or the experience. And it's kind of like the reflection process. And I know yesterday we spoke about the collective energy. So if you haven't listened to that, please go ahead and view that, whether it be on Facebook or on YouTube. It is there, the replay is there. But it's now the next couple of days, especially as we go into this newness or the ending of cycles, is silence. With that gate 24, it's kind of going contemplation. It's allowing yourself to be receptive enough to actually receive. So I say it's kind of like a reflective process. So when you're going through an ending of a cycle, because it can feel very traumatic, like there's a part of you that almost feels like, depending on what it is as well, I mean, if it's a relationship, or if it's a career path, or if it's a, whatever it is, like maybe you're moving home, like you said, like the childhood home that you grew up in and that you spent so many years in, there's a part of you that almost kind of like you lose a part of yourself, but you don't actually lose a part of yourself. You lose that identification of who you think you were, like that kind of that limitation, and you kind of make space for the expansion, your words. So it's the reflective process. So if you're going through, like my advice would be, because it's something I do, if you're going through any kind of ending right now, instead of asking disempowering questions like, why is this happening to me, or how can I try and avoid this, right, or avoid feeling this, is to reflect on, what is this ending trying to show you? Like, what wisdom have you received? How have you transformed? How are you different from now than when you first started whatever it is that you're ending, right? So kind of reflect on, and that's also a bit of like a gratitude process. So kind of like writing down things that you're truly grateful for, so that you're shifting your vibration, so that you're staying in an empowerment space while you're still honoring the fact or the need to go through the certain emotions that you're going through, but you're doing it in a powerful way that gets you to move through the process a lot quicker.
And there's always a beauty, Jaclyn, continuing that. They always say we're always in continual motion of rising up to meet our future self. That is the choice and the opportunity that's available to us. So in the ending, and they're giving me the example of when I was doing my previous career path and so forth, and I'd spent 12 years working on something to develop it, and it was not happening. And I knew they were not going to allow it to happen. And they said, no, listen, you're meant to go this way. So I knew. So again, we have a knowing. It's not like we don't know. We will know when it's time to let go of something, move in a different direction, do these things. We know. And they said, you want to stay here for the next, decade and bang your head against this wall, knock yourself out. Or you can simply go the direction you're meant to go. And so I raise that and I share that with everyone, because in that moment, it was very clear to me. I'd already, sweat, toiled, and did for 12 years and had gotten this far, but couldn't reach the pinnacle of what I thought it was to be. And they were making it very clear. Now, listen, you're being a free will. You want to stay here and bang your head another decade? God bless, do it. Or you can go this way. And so there's a poignancy in, and I don't like to, you and I are we don't like to give up. I'm very driven. I like to, I like to achieve. I like the results, the process and everything. And you have to really make peace with, well, I put 12 years of my life and my energy and my being into something, and I'm not getting, the brass ring, the gold ring. And yet I also knew in that moment, this is going to be far greater. And when I finally did, and it was about letting go of this James to become Dear James. And once I became Dear James, if you will, and, and green lights and things open, and I did look back and went, why did you wait so long? And it's so powerful and empowering, because it teaches you endings and beginnings, natural cycles, allowing, discernment, detachment, surrender in the most empowering way. It teaches us these things. What was required? Surrender, discernment, truly saying, and saying to yourself, no, I don't want to bang my head another decade to stand where I am, or maybe get, another two pegs down the road. What's the point?
Yeah. Yep. I'm living it right now. So the wisdom that you have shared, I'm kind of going, okay, I haven't felt that yet of why did I wait so long, because I'm literally at that cusp of knowing that what you're explaining is exactly where I'm at this point in time, is going, oh my word, I've invested so much energy. I've envisioned, I've manifested, I've put the intention out. I've, that stubborn warrior in me kind of going, but this is supposed to be this, And then it goes, the universe goes, not quite.
Right. We're going to deliver you a different way.
Yeah. We're going to deliver you a different way. But then you are so spot on with this inner knowing. And it's like this inner knowing of, it's not the be all and end all. This new direction, this redirection is not the be all and end all, because the be all and end all is still the bigger picture of what I know to be true, because I've experienced, I've practiced this, my soul. Like I've practiced my soul. I've practiced the alignment with my truth, who I actually am, what I came here to do, right? So that is the process. It's like, it's knowing, actually, hold on, there's an ending for a new beginning. There's always going to be an ending, and there's always going to be a new beginning. You can't get away from that, right? And a redirection, as difficult and as hard as you make it, actually, because we're actually the ones making it difficult and hard for ourselves. That's the truth bomb right over there. The universe is not making it difficult for us. Like,
truth bomb.
The universe is going, stop fighting me, please. Like,
right. Which is you, right? It's like, stop fighting yourself. So it's that Jerry Maguire, right? It's like, help me. Here's the universe. Help me. Help you.
Yes. Help me. Help you. Literally, 110%. So it is. It's like, it completely is. It's like the redirection, and it's so interesting because just before the live, you made a statement. Was it a download that you received where it was the horse is going to come anyway?
Right. I was watching a tarot video last night, and it's the beauty of the fact that even if we've distracted or gone off, or we're protecting something because we don't want to let go of something, the horse is going to arrive anyway. What our soul is meant to do, and it was a beautiful image of Pegasus, and it's the beauty of the fact that force, that awe, that magic, it's going to come anyways.
Yeah. So when you said that,
be ready.
Beginning of the show,
right?
Yeah, 100%. It was like this aha moment to all the questions that I was asking that I had been personally asking the universe, going, okay, so like, what is this redirection about? Like, why are there so many changes happening? And then when you said it, it was like this click of, oh yeah, the truth is that it's going to happen anyway. That you're going to reach the bigger picture, the bigger destiny, the destiny that you're designed to, the part of the soul contract, that you came here to experience. You're going to receive that anyway. So it doesn't matter how you get there. It's kind of like, you're going to get there. You actually are there because you're living the process. It's
Absolutely.
kind of like detaching again from the destination. Like, we as human beings, we love doing this. It's like, when I have this, I will then be happy, or I'll then experience freedom, or I'll then, have everything I want. Instead of noticing that you already do have all of it, and you can experience what it is that you actually want, which is the emotion that you think you're going to have in the having of it.
Yes.
That's the Abraham Hicks teaching.
Right.
So it's exactly that. It's like we're standing in our own way because we perceive that it's a destination rather than actually enjoying the process. But that takes practice because of the way that we were conditioned, because of the way that the era that we came into, I think, positioned us in this beautiful opportunity or experience to really gain this wisdom so that we could get to the next level. Because you'll see the kids that are coming in now, I mean, they are just absolutely evolved and expanded and just absolutely beautiful. So with them, it's like they don't even worry about what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or the next hour from now. They are so engrossed in the present moment and in this emotional intelligence of knowing, I don't feel good right now, but it's okay because it's not inevitable. It's not my whole entire life. It's just I don't feel good right now, and I can change that and I can feel better in 5 seconds. So it's like learning from them because they're designed to take us to the next level, which is absolutely so beautiful.
And yes, because with the newest and the youngest generation, they are whole and complete and futuristic. They are the future. We always say that the children are our future. Yes, they're already wired and programmed for the future, and we have that program in as well because we all come in as we're timed. It's a baton race. It's like the handoff of the baton, the relay race. There's a beauty here too, and it's the literal and the practical. And Maria's asking, why do we fight ourselves? And this is the point that they were making. it's about us making peace with, coming into alignment and making peace with our soul plan, what our soul said it was coming to do, and with whom, and making peace with when loved ones leave, when we end a relationship or we change a location and move, and all of that fear and sadness and the detachment in the sense of having to leave. However, yes, it's emotional, it's challenging, it can be painful, and yet when we look at the plan, there's a beauty, there's a grace, there is an expansiveness about it, because it's like it's a salve, because it helps us see, well, this is what, when my father passed, I heard him very clearly say, I got you all this far, now it's up to you. And there was just a truth about that was so, and I utilize that a lot in how I see things, because it was, okay, now we're all meant to rise. We all learn, we all have this soul contract. So the more we're able to detach ego, mind, personality, we need a healthy ego, mind, and personality. Yes. But not letting it override. And this is to Brigitte's point. If you're living in the old, which is ego, mind, personality, you're not living in the soul. And when you're living in the soul, your ego, mind, personality will be in service to your soul, because it knows, it comes to trust and know there's a different, better, more expansive way.
Complementary.
And so it's the beauty of the juxtaposition of aligning, making peace, be ready, because that's the arc of time. That is the arc of where we're going, is this more expanded state. We can see where all of that manipulation and control and I, and me, and mind stuff and blah, blah, it's all going away. It's all crumbling. It's all being exposed because there's a more expansive way. Natural cycles.
Absolutely. So as we close off this show this week, I'm blessing you with so much flow and ease and alignment as you go through any ending and as you embrace every new beginning that is already waiting for you. So this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful opportunity, and it might not feel like that at this very moment, but I can guarantee you once you look back at it, you'll be like, I got it. I got whatever I needed to get from it.
Yes.
And I'm so ready for that new that is waiting for you around the corner. Dear James, any final last comments?
Well, you saw me beaming to your comment, so thank you, because yes, I'm receiving it, and yes, I'm in full gratitude of that blessing and gifting, and this beauty. The solar eclipse sets up the next 6 months. So this part, the new moon and the partial solar eclipse on Saturday sets up the energy for the next 6 months. And so, as the Lady Jaclyn said, go with the flow. Be kind, be good to yourselves, and just keep aligning, making peace with, allowing for these natural cycles, these endings and beginnings, because ultimately it's the opportunity. It's always an opportunity. And it's just face your fears, jump in, and see where it takes you. Because guaranteed, the universe, this is our experience, it's been my personal one. Every time I've done it, it's been far more and greater than I could have ever imagined. So, as Jaclyn says, you've got a golden ticket, jump on the train, we're all going that way.
Yep, I'm ready. My ticket's stamped, I'm waiting.
We're on it, we're going. So
thank you guys, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, thank you all for joining us and for just being in reciprocity and everything. And again, like, share, subscribe, all of those good things, and many, many blessings. And we will see you next Wednesday for more wisdom and insights. We'll see you then.
There we go.